What if I were to tell you that summon raging spirits, combined with Unearth and zombies and living lightning is extremely strong? Well, I would be lying. At least in the moment I would be. The plan was to use these minions that have duration to see how far we could pump the damage, and it's pretty lackluster, but I think there's something here. I was messing around with the generic minions on a Gemming Legionnaire. That was fine. But I wanted to use the less stellar minions like SRS, Zombie, Living Lightning, and Earth, and try to see if we can make those work better. And so I came together with this abomination of a theory-crafted build. It's extremely clunky, but it does have some merit to it. It can clear non-Uber Arbiter, and it can do the 150 Splinter Rituals, 150 Splinter Expedition, 100 Splinter Breach. It could probably do 150 Breach if it wasn't so slow and clear, which that's never going to be solved unless you're playing like a Lich with Explode Curses. But all this for the low price of 20 Divine Orbs. I know, trust me, super cheap. Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's not great, honestly. The idea behind the Gemming Legionnaire to begin with was like the free power charges of some empowered zombies and the +2 level of intelligence gems, and the other 4 points are kind of dead. And the main damage, from what I can tell, is going to be summon raging spirits. I want to say it's about 40% of the damage, which I summoned by using Ember Fusillade. I had to pick a spell that actually hits, and I'm not too sure that Flame Wall hits, but I didn't really check. Because I wanted to throw in Living Lightning in there for an extra non-persistent minion, but I don't really think it does anything. I'm not sure how to really scale the damage. It says it scales off dexterity and other stats, but it just doesn't do much at all. It's just kind of there. And in the footage, I was using Elemental Weakness because SRS converts a good chunk of physical to fire, but I think I'm going to try to test out vulnerability due to the rest of the minions doing physical damage. And another part that's extremely clunky is I'm having to use Sacrifice on my Skeletal Clerics as bodies for my Unearth minions. Now, Unearth does a decent amount of damage, I'm not gonna lie about that, but the downside is when using Pain Offering to boost the damage even further, if even a single spike from Unearth taps it, it sacrifices that minion in the Pain Offering, and I'm using Dance Macabre or however the fuck you say it, and if that's something that puts 2 of them in the spikes, and if it even touches 1 of them, then I just lose the bonus, so that's kind of a pain in the ass. I attempted to also use the zombies, and they're level 32 in this scenario, but they just feel really weak, and they're slow to move, they're slow to attack, and they cost about 500 mana per zombie. So while I have a cap of 12 zombies, I have only about 4 or 6 at a given time, and a max of 3 empowered. But this also could be a weakness because of a support gem issue that I'm not sure about how to put the right supports in or not. Now, there are simple fixes like adding a companion beast with haste aura, adding a specter for more damage that would actually benefit from the Gemming Legionnaire's quality, giving it more spirit reservation efficiency, adding different minions and muster support, and just using any other minion build would be light years better, but I really wanted to make an attempt to make these lackluster skills work. The ideal scenario is to drop Unearth and use SRS as the main skill, but I'm not too sure how viable it is getting it to level 40. It's already at level 35 and it's kind of rough. I could drop the focus and add an offhand that lacks on defenses but adds like a few allies and presence mods. There's also the question of would swapping to a tactician and grabbing the Ascendancy Watch How I Do for 25% of main hand damage being added to allies, and see if that makes any difference. That's about 250 flat on the top end, I think. And then there's also the idea of grabbing 2 Ever Grasping Rings uniques for allies and presence to gain 50% of their damage as extra chaos damage. And I'm pretty sure the pathing can be improved, and that's just like the first things that I think about. But yeah, that's the quick rundown of this build theory. It's extremely janky, low DPS for what it costs. And I'm fairly new to Path of Exile 2 theory crafting, and I'm just putting this out there to see what other info I can learn from others, and maybe I'm missing a few things that are gonna be some huge quality of life or some like huge damage improvements. But yeah, until next time, take it easy.